AMC Theaters updated their website with the runtime and the rating review for the Bumblebee movie. And it's quite a shock what we're going to be getting this time around. So we've had 5 Transformer movies up to this point, and each one of them always clocked over 2 hours and some change. The original 2007 movie, 2 hours and 23 minutes. Revenge of the Fallen, 2 hours and 30 minutes. Dark of the Moon, 2 hours and 34 minutes. It seems like they kept increasing. Age of Extinction, 2 hours and 45 minutes, kept increasing. Now, The Last Night went down a little bit. It went to 2 hours and 29 minutes. But all of them were always, hovering more to that 2 hours and 30-minute mark. Some more, some less, some right on the dot. Bumblebee the movie here is going to be 1 hour and 54 minutes, a.k.a. a traditional movie, more or less, a little bit under 2 hours. So people are speculating just from that they're going for that family friendly, runtime, safe movie, edit and speed. But then we found out what the ratings was for the movie. And it seems that the Bumblebee movie has a rating of PG-13 for sequences of science fiction action violence. Now, keep in mind, this is PG-13 for the United States. The rating system is a little different in the rest of the world. It has been confirmed that both the runtime and the rating system is across the globe here. That's what they're saying. But I have encountered many times that movies that are PG-13 in, let's say, the United States end up being just PG in Canada.
Well, I guess I don't know if it's accurate or not, but I know in specifically Quebec, it's lower. So it will be. It's highly likely it's going to be PG in Quebec, but maybe the rest of Canada might carry the PG-13 over.
That's possible. Yeah.
Because I remember when I would go and see a movie specifically, let's say Blade 2, where all of a sudden in Quebec it would be PG-13 or PG-16 because of the gore that's in the movie. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Those are movies I saw in the theater specifically. You know?
And Blade 2, was that rated R elsewhere?
Yeah, that was definitely a rated R.
That's what I want to know.
If I remember right. But
aside
here
from that
it was. I remember here in Quebec it was 16.
Okay.
It was it wasn't an R yet, but it was right below.
So,
but also something I want to mention about the Bumblebee movie is what was noted as a little note in on TFW 2005's article. It said it's interesting to note that language and some innuendo, some crude and sexual material, and a brief drug material descriptions as seen on previous Transformer movies are noticeably absent from this movie's rating, indicating a lack of toilet humor and sexualization. So normally what we would normally see in the Bay movies where, oh, look, the dogs are banging each other, or Sam is trying to get with this other girl, or, or the mom's on weed, eat some edibles, that's not going to be the case in this movie.
Well,
which is pretty good.
What I did also was I pulled up all the previous Transformer movies MPAA ratings and their certifications from the previous movies. So to give an example, the 2007 movie got a PG-13 rating for intense sequences of science fiction action violence, brief sexual humor, and language. And then, of course, like we mentioned before, in Canada, it got PG in Alberta, Nova Scotia, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec. It got a G, and then, not in Quebec. In Quebec, it got a G rating. So you're right. Quebec, it always seems to be much lower.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there's something just weird about us. I don't know. Everything is fair.
Again, I remember. Sorry to bring up 50 Shades of Grey, but
go ahead.
I remember what's his name? John Oliver pointed out that in France it was rated PG. So that means 12-year-olds could go see 50 Shades of Grey. Wow. And then the joke that he brought was that, the love scenes are too pedestrian. And it's just, imagine a 12-year-old smoking a cigarette like a French person in Paris. And the love scenes are too pedestrian. It's so weak. Why are you rating it so high?
Well, so and also,
You know?
also all this information, by the way, I'm getting from IMDb. If you want to pull this up, it's pretty interesting. So they also break down like specifically for each movie, why is sexuality under the mild category, and then they go like, well, there's one scene where Bumblebee's urinating on a guy, and then there's another scene where Sam has a bikini-clad woman on his wall that is very sexual in a sexual pose, and then there's another scene.
I can't remember if the joke in the first movie, the mom starts talking about masturbation.
Yeah, she does.
And it was the first movie, right? And then they're like, Mom, stop, honey, stop. What do you stop it?
They keep going. Like there's, again, mention of sexual stuff. Bros before hoes is mentioned. Michaela looking at a car engine. Sam checking out her body with wandering eyes for sexual innuendo of working her engine.
Yeah.
There. Sam locks himself in his room. Mother questions if he is masturbating. Sam and Michaela start cuddling on a hood. No surprise, one of the Autobots reports the boy has pheromone levels indicating a want to mate with the female. Again, so on IMDb, they break down everything. And so all the Transformer movies up to this point, 2007, Revenge of the Fallen, Dark of the Moon, Age of Extinction, and The Last Night, every single one of them across the board has gotten the exact same thing. Rated PG-13, intense science fiction, action, violence, brief sexual humor, and language.
And in the Last Night, there was a whole thing about Jaeger wanting possibly to bang the archaeologist.
Well, not to mention all the horny housewives that were thinking they were upstairs doing that.
So all those jokes, and then Cogman making them a very nice dinner inside the submarine and everything and all that.
But that's just it. So up to this point, every single one of the movies has had the same rating. And has had the same like specific MPAA explanation for more or less the same stuff. So this is the first time ever we've had just only it's going to be because of science fiction violence, so just the fighting of the robots.
Yeah.
No other reason. So there's going to be no crude humor according to this, and no foul language, and the shorter runtime. So it's definitely they're going for a different audience, a safer movie this time. It's something that I've been hearing for years.
And I also wonder too if it's like, I don't know if it could be pushed back from the studio. It could be pushed back from theater owners. Like, hey, I want to be able to show this movie more than a certain amount of times a day. And if you have a movie that's like the running time always seems to be 2 hours and 30 minutes, then that limits how many times you can show this movie in a day. You know. So this is pushing 2 hours. So you're cutting out that extra 30 minutes roughly.
Another thing that dawned on me that was very interesting was I remember when I went to HasCon, the Transformer section, if you will, had all 4 movies up to that point playing in rotation throughout the whole weekend, and they had a big sign above the movie saying contain sexual innuendos, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, wow, like they actually, because like I said, HasCon's MO was really like a family kind of thing. And so even them, they had to like put a sign above that if you're going to sit here and watch the movie, keep in mind that so-and-so and so-and-so is in it. So I think maybe Hasbro recognizes now that their brand, that they're still ultimately in the end are trying to sell to a child audience also, as well as an adult audience, that, they probably look at the Marvel movies and go, you know what? Maybe the Marvel movies in some areas, they're able to tell a story without having to do some of the things that Michael Bay had to do, Now, granted, that's not to say the Marvel movies don't have their own sexual innuendo humor in it and stuff too, especially the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff. But that's not the point. The point is that I think that they're probably... Again, Aaron Archer talked about it, where they always looked at what Marvel was doing because it seemed to always be working for them.
Yeah.
From a film franchise standpoint. And I guess that while they still are in that PG-13 rating, they've only now just reduced the one problematic, and I hate to use that word, but the one problematic thing here is only now down just to science fictional action violence, which I would damn hope is in there for a Transformer movie.
This new version of Transformers is a deconstruction, so it's more about the political side of this war and what's going on.
Of Volkswagen and why it actually was.
So like imagine if you go and see the movie 300 and you're seeing like all these Spartans with their swords and their shields and their phalanx, and the majority of the movie is just them in the Senate talking about what's going on instead of a good balance between the two going back and forth. No, it's just the Senate. That's it.
Well, again, this is good news. So, another thing too that's always been an issue with a lot of these Transformer movies has been fatigue watching them. So now that it has a more shorter runtime, it'll lead at least to people being able to enjoy the movie more as a whole movie. I've always said how the 2007 movie is probably the most watchable of the bunch in terms of flow and lack of just drag of action or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically enough, it's also the shortest of the original movies. Granted, it's still 2 hours and 23 minutes, which is still much longer than the average movie. But at the same time, it still is the shortest, and it might lead to some of that credence. So now that Bumblebee is 1 hour and 54 minutes, we might lead to a better, shorter run movie, but a better story, a better pace. Hopefully. Again, I always go into this hoping the best. So let's hope that with this shorter runtime, it'll lead to a better movie that we could all enjoy together.